I lost everything in my early 40s, as in everything. I went into minus, I went into terrible debt. As at that time, over 40 million, going to 46 million. It was very dangerous. I mean, it was the lowest of my financial seasons. Serious financial crisis. Imagine losing everything and then having to start, not even from zero, having to start with minus 46 million. At the time, the naira was less than 100 naira. So we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about a lot of money, close to $60,000 in debt. Now, tonight, I'm going to share with you what might be perhaps the most important thing for you if you are going through financial crisis at this time. For some reason, most serious financial crises seem to happen to people in their 40s and also in their 50s. Because if you make financial mistakes in your 20s, it's okay. You can still, you still have a lot of time ahead of you. But if you make a financial mistake, serious financial mistake like the type I made in your 40s and you're already married with children and have responsibilities, or in your 50s, that financial mistake can be terrible. So mine was, and I came out of it. So I'm going to be very vulnerable with you tonight. I'm going to tell you the whole story. I don't hide. I'm very authentic. I don't paint anything, and I don't hide it. It also helps you so that you can understand that I did not just jump out or jump down from heaven, totally made. Oh, no. I had some rough financial times. So I'm going to tell you about it. And before I tell you my story, how I lost everything in my 40s, I would like to ask to just take a little survey for all of you here. If you are going through a major financial crisis that you really consider a serious financial low in your situation right now, type 4 in the comment section. Type the number 4. If you are going through some very, very difficult, like financial moments in your life, everything is low. Sometimes you don't just see how this is going to end. You look up, you look down, you look around. You've tried everything, but it looks like there's no way. And especially if you're in your 40s or 50s, sometimes even in your 60s. Okay, just type 4 in the comment section. All right, 4. Very interesting. The reason this is important, for me, it also helps me to be as vulnerable, because if I find that you are going through what I have gone through, there's a level of connection, there's a level of compassion that can allow me to connect with you at a very deep emotional and spiritual level to share what is really going to help you. So I'm glad that there are people who are passing through their financial lows right now. Like I lost everything. Imagine losing everything at 43. So how did mine happen? I consider myself like one of the most fortunate or blessed people in this part of the world, because I started my career working with Shell. That was when oil and gas, those were the golden years of oil and gas, because I think that today tech has probably taken over doing what oil and gas used to do in those days. Because if you had a job in oil and gas, especially with a multinational like Shell, we were like in how many, over 100 countries or something like that, in those days, and then Shell staff often went for cross-posting in incredible places. I mean, there was a lot of money. It was a glorious career. That's how I started. And then from Shell, Chevron came, offered almost 3 times what Shell was paying me, to, excuse me, please. The weather has been quite dry here. So, excuse me. So I left Shell and went to Chevron. And you'd better believe it, 6 years into Chevron, Shell came back and said, "We want you back." And I said, prove it. And Shell doubled what Chevron was paying me at the time, put me at a higher level of responsibility than where I was in Shell the first time, and then gave me all kinds of perks, and I went back to Shell. So, in every sense of the word, I was a big boy. I mean, I had a career that so many people envied. And, it paid so well. I traveled around the world. And then almost every summer, I would take my family to Europe or to the United States. And we spend like 3 months, 2 months. I come back for work because my leave was not for 3 months, but the family would stay. And so we had all those things going on. And then I had all those business trips with Shell. They would come and pick me in my residence with the spy police, lights flashing as they took me to the airport. At the airport, there was Shell protocol waiting. They were already expecting me. So they opened the car, I got out. They took my luggage to check in while I waited in a corner. And then because it's business class, it took them very little time. They would come and give me my boarding pass, and I'll go to the business class lounge and wait. And when it was time, of course, they will announce to us, and then we would board before normal human beings like yourself, which I later became. So, as I was entering the plane, all those air hostesses, elegant air hostesses, and they already knew my name and knew the seat, because if you're in the business class, you enjoy a lot of all those things. There was a day, there was a time I upgraded my business class to first class and flew. When I came back, I was telling the experience, sharing the experience with my colleagues. I said, man, first class, it's something else. Because the space in that first class was incredible. In fact, where I was sitting would be an equivalent of six economy class, if not 8 economy class ticket holder space. And the service was incredible. Like every 5 seconds, they want to spoil you. Anything you wanted, they gave you. So when I came back, I enjoyed the experience. I was telling my friends, oh my goodness, first class, it's a good thing. Upgrade once in a while and fly first class. They got tired of my story. They said, Ogbo, what is first class? After all of it's the same plane. You arrived at the same time with the people who were sitting in coach, in economy and all that. So, it was like, cut that story. I said, yes. We arrived at the same time. But the journey was not the same. The experience was not the same. Anyway, so that was what I was enjoying in Shell. Fast forward a couple of years later, when I now quit Shell to start my consulting business. Of course, I couldn't afford the business class for myself. When Shell was doing it, I was, my goodness, big boy, first class. As I was going into the business class, those air hostesses would come in. Hello, Mr. Wood, how are you today? Shall we take your jacket? I said, oh, yeah, sure. They took my jacket. And as soon as I settled in the seat, 2A, 2B, 1D, as soon as I settled, they came in, champagne or orange juice or water? I said, give me water. The journey is still far. A few years later, when I now left Shell, I couldn't afford business class ticket. I couldn't afford it for myself. The same air hostesses, as I'll be entering the plane, I'll be waiting, looking around. I say, can they recognize? Don't they recognize? Because I have my economy and coach back of the plane ticket. And then I'll be going in. And this air hostess, as I was going in, I said, can these people recognize me? It's the same person. Don't they recognize me? They just do left hand like this. They say, your ticket, 71J. I said, this one is too unequal. You see? That was now when I came to the philosophy that, listen, if you're doing 9 to 5 now, and they're paying you huge salary, and then you are enjoying all these perks, Anything that the office is doing for you that you cannot afford for yourself when you leave as fake life. Trump will say it's fake news. It's fake life. I didn't realize it that my life was fake just because I was working in Shell. And then I saw all the big money. The money was in my eyes. It entered my eyes, like we say in Nigeria. It was flashing. So I was a big boy. I didn't know it was the reputation of Shell. Not my own reputation. So up to today, I still don't do business class or first class. I'm still managing myself with economy for now. The time is coming to go back to business class. But now nobody says, "Hey, Mr. Ogbo, can I take your jacket?" Or nobody comes to me and say, "Champagne." How are they going to bring champagne to you when you are sitting in 75J or 202B? So that was what was going on, with me at the time. Then I quit Shell. I had gone to Netherlands to work on a project, in the Shell International office at the time. At this time, I really began to get too confident. You need to understand this story because you need to understand why what happened to me, why I lost everything. You need to just understand the story I'm telling you now. Every detail is important. So by this time, I had really felt very confident because at the end of the month, salary hit the account. It was predictable. Come on, because this was Shell. There's no story. Salary came the same day every month, and it was big. And then in my position in Shell, they were paying fuel for my car. They gave me a car. I had a car, a vehicle. They were paying fuel allowance every single month, plus a lot of other things. The perks were really incredible. So I was a big boy. That was when the fall happened. When a big boy falls, it's not like when small boys fall. When small boys fall, they just stand up, wipe their bottom and continue to go. But when a big boy falls, goodness gracious me, is huge. So, cut the story short, when I was in Netherlands, I started coming up with the idea. I felt that somehow the Shell job was good. It was great, but I wasn't fulfilled. In fact, while I was in Shell, what I'm doing this evening was what I kept dreaming that I wanted to do. But every day, I got into the office, met the same people, the same managers, and then we talked about the same oil projects, offshore pipelines, and all these things. So I just got tired of all these things because I felt that I could do much more. I could give the world much more. So when I came back, Shell was doing what they call selective voluntary severance. So I opted to take the package and then leave to start. But I did something before I left because I was going to start my consulting and coaching business. And I said, wait a minute, while my business stabilizes, I would like to invest money. At that time, there was a hedge fund. That's what it was called, a hedge fund. It was called Nospetco. I don't know how many of you know Nospetco. And then many of my colleagues in Shell at the time were investing in Nospetco. I remember one particular person, I don't want to mention his name, because right now you're probably watching this and you're in Canada. You're in Canada with your family right now. Because he created part of the problem. This guy had invested in Nospetco. Nospetco was supposedly a hedge fund, and at the time it was paying whatever you paid them. They paid you 9 or 10% every month. So it was huge. So this guy was in Nospetco. He was making so much money. Bought real estate, bought brand new BMW at the time, which was a big boy move at the time. It wasn't from Shell salary. You don't buy BMW, from Shell salary. Brand new BMW. So he did, and it was Nospetco. So the thing now entered my eye. I said, wait a minute. And then I went to their office several times to investigate them. And then the shocking thing, I would get to Nospetco office at that time, Elephant House in Marina. That's where they were. I don't remember the floor, whether it was 6th floor or 8th floor. They had a couple of floors. Elephant House in Marina. So 3 times I went to check them out. Are these people real? Then my colleagues in Shell will be showing me Every month they'll say, look at what dropped. Man, the thing was so mouth-watering. Then, the last time I went there, before I finally committed, I went there and I saw my banker, my personal banker. I don't want to mention the name of that bank at the time. My personal banker, his manager, they were all there, my bankers, 3 of them. I met 3 of them there. I met the professor from the University of Nigeria. So I now reason, wait a minute, if my banker is there, if my Shell colleagues are here, then the guy who was the manager of Shell Cooperative. Shell at that time had 3 cooperatives. We had Shell East for Port Harcourt. We had Shell Coop West in Warri. And then we had the cooperative for Lagos office. So now, the manager for Shell Cooperative in Lagos, every day I went there, he would show me, print out all the things that Nospetco had been paying him consistently for more than 1 year. So I now reasoned, okay, you know what? As I'm quitting Shell, I want to put in everything. I literally, and unfortunately, I did. That's another lesson. I did not tell my wife about it. I thought somehow that she would discourage me. I didn't tell her. If I had told her, I would never have lost that money. It's over $100,000 in today's money. I took everything, put in Nospetco. There was another one they call Wealth Zone. Stanley, I don't know where you are today. That guy they call Stanley, smooth-talking criminal. So we went. The office was somewhere in Bagada, near where Charlie Boy used to live. So my colleague and I went there. The guy smooth-talked me, and I put in millions. And then you know what happened? When I put in my own money there, I didn't even opt to be receiving monthly payment. I opted for compounding because you can let your money compound. Because I didn't need the money then. But what I wanted to do is that when I left Shell, at least there will be some income coming while my business stabilized. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the architecture of my fall. Because shortly after that, Central Bank came, declared both the one that Stanley was doing, it was called Wealth Zone, declared it a Wonder Bank, declared Nospetco Wonder Bank. That is served since 2007 till now. That's how I lost all that money, all the family savings, everything I got living Shell. I lost it. So we started life. I lost everything. We started life, from minus, from under the ground. You see, this thing called money, it will teach you. It will humble you. It will humble you if you're a big boy. Then it will teach you. So that was how I lost everything. And then the journey began. It did not end in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It took almost 7 to 8 years. 8 years after before, 8 years before I started seeing something that looked like stability. So, and I hope if you're passing through financial crisis, I hope you're already getting encouraged. If you're hopeful, because if I could do it, you can do. If I can come out, I'm not sure you understand what I'm talking about. Because after that, I couldn't pay rent. I couldn't pay the children's school fees. They drove me. They drove me, big boy, out of the house because I couldn't pay rent. I got quick notices. Things were so bad. I remember, we used to drink, this bottled water in a dispenser. So we had a dispenser plugged to the electricity, and then so we used to buy the fillable refill bottle. You know what I'm talking about? To drink, Shell family, and so for years. And then usually a bottle took us, for the number of people in the house, a bottle took us about 2 days on average, maximum 3 days. It got so bad that I could not buy water again. I couldn't buy that water. So one day I was driving into the estate where we were living, and I saw this sachet water that I have been hearing about and I've been seeing common people drink. So this sachet water, I think it originated in Nigeria. I've been seeing ordinary people. That's what they drank. I go to the streets, they're selling, you hear them shouting, pure water, pure water. He's like, what's that? Like, what's that? How can people drink that? What in the world? How can people drink? From plastic, microplastic and things. How can people drink? Oh, the hygiene. How do they produce it? That was. But Ladies and gentlemen, I was driving. It got so bad. I was driving into the estate one day. So I stopped by where they were selling pure water, packs of pure water. I asked them, how much is this? How much is a pack of pure water? When they told me, I was shocked. I think at that time it was like 20 naira or 15 naira for this big pack. And I saw that what I used to buy one bottle water that you put on the dispenser could actually buy pure water, this sachet water that could take us for 2 months. For a month. So that day when I go home, I called my wife. I said, sweetheart, it looks like we start drinking pure water. It looks like we start pure. I can't buy this one again. For my shell staff, for my big boy, you know. And then my wife said, pure water. I've never drunk pure water again. I will not drink it. I've never drunk pure water. I will not drink it. I looked at her and said, sweetheart, you will drink. I said, you will drink. You will drink. If you want the bottled water, then you have to make the money available. Anyway, happy to announce to you that she not only drank, she still drinks pure water. So I don't know if your situation is actually your current situation, the financial crisis you're going through. I don't know if it's as bad as my own. I had children. They pursued my children from school. One of them, when he was supposed to be taking common entrance exam, he stayed home for the whole term. He took that exam from home because I couldn't pay his school fees, and the school wouldn't let him stay in school. That's how bad things was. Then, in all those things, it took years, at least 8 years, for us to begin to see what they call light at the end of a tunnel. So imagine 8 years of deep financial low, deep financial darkness. I did everything. I would go to companies, write proposals to all these companies, and none of them gave me face. None of them would even bother to reply. So I'll come back. There have been cases when I drove out the car on red. I drove out on red. I knew it was not going to make that journey. But that's when I started, I will pray. I said, Father, I heard that you put, somebody poured water in somebody ran out of fuel and he poured water or something. And then the thing, so I pray, let this fuel, take me and then bring me back. One of those days, the fuel stopped in the middle of a road, that Ikoyi bridge. Stopped, the fuel ran out there. But I had faith. I was hopeful that the thing would reach me, and there wasn't money to buy that. So it was financial low. It was as low as anybody could get. And then money knows how to embarrass you, especially if you're in your 40s. I mean, if you're in your 20s, for 30s, okay, but in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, money knows how to embarrass you. I got every imaginable embarrassment you can get, during our financial, But then I realized things, what real wealth, in the process of this, I started realizing what real wealth is. I realized that the greatest wealth I had, was family. Both my immediate family and then extended family of my siblings and their families. I realized the importance of having high value power circles, high value circles, having a very high value network. I'm telling you, like my people say, that he who has network of people, he who has a power circle, a circle is richer than the person who has money. That was one of the biggest truths and biggest lessons. Today, if I'm to advise my younger self, who lost it all in my 40s, I would say pursue relationship, build relationship, leave money alone, build relationship. In fact, I would actually tell you, even before you lose everything, start building relationships, because relationships are more valuable than money. They are more valuable than money. It was one Relationship that opened the door for me to start teaching at the Lagos Business School. It was a relationship that opened the door for me to start lecturing at China Europe International Business School. It was relationship that opened the door for me to start working with Stanford University, the top university in the world. Working with all those Stanford professors, which was like the high point, the most prestigious career I've ever had, working with Stanford University, with all the perks and privileges and then the knowledge. It's the sharpest professors in the world. Sharp. It was relationship that made all those things happen. And then I started understanding the power of personal growth and capacity building, that you should stop chasing money, start building capacity. Build capacity. When you build a capacity. So today, I know how much companies pay me to work for them. I don't need to tell you, but I'm telling you, it's good. It's good. Banks are asking me, to come give keynotes. International companies are asking me to come lead their retreats. And I'm leading board retreats, and I'm paid well. Do you know why they pay me that? Capacity. I built capacity. And today, to have one-on-one with me, some people just send a message, just because you have my WhatsApp number. Oh, I want to chat with you. And you ask, what do you want to talk about? And then they say, I just want to call you. One was telling me this, I want to join your YouTube channel. But I'm only one question. So talk to me. I'm only one question away from joining your YouTube. You're not doing me a favor. Ladies, I have capacity. What is it you're paying? Okay, you're joining Financial Fitness. What is it you're paying? That is anything close to what companies pay me and what individuals pay me. One-on-one is $500. And people pay. Why? Because I built the capacity to help. I build the capacity to create transformation. I build the capacity to help organizations to unlock 10 times growth. So I built capacity during this financial crisis that I was having. I learned how much faith in God can sustain you so much that people would not even have, you constantly have joy. When that Jewish leader called Nehemiah said that the joy of the Lord is our strength. My goodness, I experienced it. Not one day during those periods of financial darkness. Not one day. My family will tell you. The children will tell you. And everybody who knows me and who knew me. Many people have no idea. Some of you who even are close to me are just hearing this story for the first time. Some relations are just hearing this story for the first time. They had no idea what I went through. They had no idea that things got so bad, I couldn't pay rent. We had to squat. I had to squat my family. And I'm not talking about so long ago. I had to squat my family. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 3 years during that financial darkness. So I don't know what you're going through. And you think it is something compared to what I've gone through. No, I've been there. You know what it means, squatting your family in a big city like Lagos? You know what it means? Do you know what that could do also to the self-image of a man, to the self-worth of a man? Because the lowest thing that can happen to a man, lowest of the low, is that you can't house your family. God kind, at least I was able to provide food within this time. But you get to a certain level in your life, and it's not just about food. So I got to understand the sustaining power of faith in God, that He loves me, that He cares for me. So every day I was able to maintain joy. There was no depression. I never came back angry to shout at my family, to shout at my wife. God forbid. My precious wife, why would I shout at her? And I never came back one day to shout at the children. No, because I didn't come back with anger, even though each time I came back, most times I came back with empty wallet, because I made all the effort there and the effort didn't yield anything. So these were the things I learned. Now, so let me give you something I learned that will probably be one of the most important lessons you can ever learn for 2026. And then especially for those of you going through financial crisis right now, like the darkest season in your life. Here it is. Some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuilt. Please, everybody type it. Like I tell you, there's something about typing something and reading it, because even if your brain forgets, your finger will remind your brain, your fingertips will not forget, because that's what you call muscle memory. Type it, write it down. Some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuilt. Some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuilt. I was broken. Imagine going from working in Shell, from making millions, to not being able to house your family, to not being able to buy water, and to start making your precious wife, who never drank pure water. You were the very first person to make this beautiful woman, precious woman, to drink pure water. Imagine how broken that was for me. So I was broken and I was rebuilt, and I'm on my way to wealth. Wealth that, when it comes, and that's, the whole thing changed my perspective on wealth and money. So when I see all these young people flexing on social media, flexing with cars, new cars, talking about they have this ride, they're living in this place and all that. Some of us who have been broken and rebuilt, we're just quiet at the corner, laughing at them. And then, so, whatever you're going through right now, submit to the process. If you're going through financial crisis, stop fighting it. Submit to the process. In fact, I had a divine experience during those dark moments. I had a divine experience. I have divine experience every day because I carry the divine nature. But this particular one was, in prayer, I will say to God, and that's a good prayer for you to pray, to write down and pray. I will say, if what I'm going through is lack of wisdom on my part, if what I'm going through is lack of knowledge, because it says that my people perish for lack of knowledge, if what I'm going through right now is actually my making, my own ignorance, my own something that I'm missing, I prayed, Father, give me wisdom. Please help me. Open my eyes. Give me that wisdom. But I said, if what I'm going through is a process that you have ordained that I should go through, then give me peace in my heart and I'll go through the process. And I really wanted to go through the process. And each time I finish praying, he will refer me to the scripture that says that patience must finish its work in its entirety. Let me actually find it and then read it, because I like to quote it the way it used to come to me. That was when I realized that one of the most important lessons of wealth, of real wealth, is patience. So every time I finish praying, oh God, please release me from this situation. It's embarrassing. Look at the children, they are home. School is not paid. You said you're my shepherd. You supply all my needs, according to your riches in glory. every time I finish praying that, he will say, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So at some point I say, okay, Father, this patience, this thing has happened 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. This is the 4th year. This is the 5th year. Nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. 5th year, 6th year. I said, at least if you can give me a measure of timing. There's no kind of prayer when you don't pray, when you're desperate. So if you can give me some timing, a measure of timing, like if you say, okay, this thing is going to last for 7 more years, then my mind will be settled and I will just go through. Or this thing will last for another 3 years. I heard God chuckle. I heard God chuckle, in my spirit. And then it's like he turned to Christ and said, okay, this man wants to put a deadline on patience. Patience has no deadline, and that's a problem. And so therefore, patience must finish his work. God laughed. He found it very amusing that I wanted to put a deadline on patience. Okay, I'll be patient until another 14 months. So what I'm saying is, go through the process. Don't fight it. Because some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuked. Okay, I'm getting a couple of comments. So let me see. Let me take a few minutes and then answer some of this, speak to some of this, and then we can continue with the second part of this that will tell you exactly what to do. Okay. Yes. Okay. So many of you have written. So wisdom. Yes. Many of you have written it. Some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuked. Never forget that. Yes. Ijoma also wrote that. Marshall Believe also wrote that. Festus did. Fantastic. Josephine also did that. Fantastic. Yes, Gracie Farmer did. Buchianye, fantastic. You all wrote it. Fantastic. Mba Junior. Yes. Jojo Jonga. Some wealth can only be held by someone who had been broken and rebuked. Fantastic. MC Glorious. Jane also did. Jane 1-4. All right. Okay. So there's this comment here. AI Pathway says, for me, that I means use opportunity now. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I use opportunity now. I'm regretting it. I had to know. I have sensed them. I'm sorry, AI Pathway. I don't understand that. Yeah. But don't worry. You didn't miss any opportunity. Still that. Okay. Great PG do Curitiba says, anytime you tell story about going broke after you left Shell, I kept wanting to ask why it was difficult to get another job in the oil sector with such resume. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Some people actually said I should go back. But I didn't want. I actually was invested in my calling. And then one of the things that also helped me was while I was in the Netherlands, I did an exercise. I said, and I think that's actually a better answer to why I didn't go looking for a job. Number one, I never wanted to work again. Number two, I actually sat down in Holland and wrote a list of 100 things I wanted to achieve before I died. And then by the time I looked at that list, I saw that I will never achieve those things working in Shell. So it was existential. It was spiritual. It was much more than just trying to survive. I wasn't just trying to survive or to make money. But I said, what were the 100 things that looking back, if I achieved them, and then on my deathbed, looking back, I would say, yes, this is a life that was lived well. And then I could hear God saying, well done, you good and faithful servant. That's what I did. I made that list and I saw clearly that yes, if I stayed in Shell and retired there, and then by the time I was retiring, in fact, I would still be working in Shell today. I would still be working because I wouldn't have retired. I'll still be working in Shell today, perhaps another 5 years or something. You would never do that. I would never do the things that I've been able to do since I. In fact, if Shell calls me today and says we'll give you $100 million, I won't, because it's not about money. It's about, I've come to a point, in my life where I'm like, what's the impact? What's the purpose for my life here? What is it that, by the time I've finished and I'm leaving this universe, that people will be glad that someone like me walked on the planet, and God will be proud that someone like me walked on the planet. So I used to dread, oh my God, that I just finished working in Shell and then retired. I would have sent my children abroad to finish schooling. I would have built a mansion in my village. I would have lived a very good life. And now, in retirement, I can have, money. So at the end of it, on my tombstone, when I died, they said this guy worked in Shell, built a house, trained his children abroad. I thought, no, it should be more than that. And do you know what has happened since I left Shell? I have met the high and the low in different countries. I have had opportunity to speak in places I would never have. Many of you know me today, and then many people write me, like I got one today. Some people are telling me, I started investing. You were the one that made me to start investing. That my first investment in life was because I get that every day. People are changing. Families are coming together. In fact, when I left Shell, a year after I left Shell, I was on television, live television, coaching television for 5 years, between 2009 to 2014. I was on live television every week, 5 years, teaching people, because my mission was to help Africans to open their eyes and open their brain. Because after traveling around the world, I found that the only difference between Africa and other people is the way we think. And I said, it doesn't matter what anybody does, including the so-called men of God. You can do all the miracles, but if you can't help people change the way they think, in 500 years, we'll still be what we are today as Africans. Applies to Caribbeans, applies to Asia, and some places. So I've literally spoken to millions of people and touched millions of lives. There was a day, there was a month that the total reach of my social media reach was about 10 million. How in the world would I have been able to address 10 million people in a year? On YouTube alone, I think I currently have about 1.9 million views. These are lives like your own who are being touched and who would never have heard this since I'm telling you if I hadn't made that sacrifice. So that's why I didn't go back. I had a list of 100 things I said I want to achieve before I died. And I've been doing good so far. I've been doing good. So if I drop that tomorrow, don't even weep. Don't even cry. I still have a lot. I still have a lot of mileage, a lot of things to do. There are a lot of things in my heart, put in my heart. Like I want to end the wars in Africa. I want to end the war in Somalia. I want to end the wars that have been going on in the Congo area. I want to end the wars, in East Africa. I want to end wars. I want to end wars. Now, if I end one war, let me ask you, would that have been, if I help tribes in Africa to stop fighting and killing each other, if I even saved one life, like I have several times, it's a young woman that got pregnant out of wedlock. They wanted to abort the baby. And then they also wanted at some point to sell the baby. They wanted to send the girl to a baby factory to have the baby, to sell the baby. My wife and I stopped it. We funded her pregnancy. She had that baby. that baby turned 7 years 2 weeks ago. And then as I was speaking with her on phone, and the other day she was 5, when we visited, and then carried her, and I carried that child. I said, this is a child that would have been killed, would never have excelled. And then you never know the destiny of this child. Believe me, in the spiritual scale of things, that was far more impactful than any salary Shell could pay me. So that was my mindset, That's why I didn't bother. I didn't even bother. People were telling me to go back and work some, in Shell, or go back to Chevron and things like that. My colleagues in Chevron were asking me to come back, but no, I didn't have that sort of thing. Okay. Andrew says, prayers, oh Lord, if what I'm going through, yes, exactly. If what I'm going through currently is lack of wisdom or knowledge, please give me wisdom, help me. Yeah, but if what I'm going through is what you ordained for me, if it's give me grace, fantastic. That's how I went through that time. Josephine says, sir, I want to pay for your financial fitness challenge. How can I be in the group to follow up on the process of payment? If you go to the description of this very video, and in fact of most videos, you'll get a link to join. It's extremely easy. Andrew says, please sir, are there ways you feel one might be fighting patience unknowingly? Yeah, so what happened in my case is exactly what I told you. What happened was, every day I made sure that I was taking action. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I made sure that I was going out, selling my products. I was learning. I also joined coaching programs. It was within this time that I went for coaching with Billie Jean is Marketing. I also traveled to the US for Dean Jackson's Mastermind. I also attended Lisa Sasavich's event in San Diego in California. I was building capacity around this time. I was doing everything I should do. I just wanted to make sure that I needed to take action. I was learning. I was taking action. I was getting out of my house every day. I was selling. I was making myself known. So that's the only way, do what you can with what you have, where you are. Then the rest is patience. Yeah. If you need to be patient, you will know it. Nobody will tell you. And then the worst thing is to fight patience. Just be peaceful and surrender to the process. Just knowing that it will all work out well. Where I am today, when I was going through it, I had no idea. When I was going through this terrible thing, when I was squatting, I had no idea. There's no way I could have ever imagined in my wildest imagination that Stanford University, they have the Stanford Graduate School of Business has this outreach all over the world now that they call Stanford Seed. I had no idea. And then Stanford University was looking for one person in the whole of South Africa, in the whole of West Africa at that time. I didn't even have an MBA. I still don't have an MBA. And of all the people, of all the 280, nearly 300 million people in West Africa, it was me. How do you arrange that sort of thing? From your financial darkness, how do you arrange that sort of thing? So your own is, do what you can. Continue being out there on the road, but be peaceful in your heart. Knowing that things will always turn out. I knew that things would turn out, but I never knew I could start lecturing at the Lagos Business School. I never knew that I could be a key faculty in China Europe International Business School. I never knew that I could be faculty in the Stanford Seed program of Stanford University. I never arranged that. I never knew that. So that's why I'm talking about having faith in God and having hope. And then if you're going through these very difficult financial times, if you must lose anything, lose money, but never lose hope. As long as there is hope in the future, there is going to be power in the moment. But the moment hope goes, it's extremely difficult. The moment hope goes, when you're going through some financial difficulties, and then you let hope sleep, then the only thing that's left is, going down the path of depression. And depression is you can't afford depression when you're going through financial difficulties. But that's where many people find themselves. But you have to actually talk to yourself. You have to use your voice, talk to yourself. You can't afford depression when you are going through difficult times. So you keep your hope alive. Stay around people who are very hopeful. So don't let yourself slip into darkness, because you must remind yourself, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It truly is. And then there's a hymn writer said, "Judge not the Lord with feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, he hides a smiling face." So no matter how dark it is with you and your family financially, you have to believe strongly in your heart. There's a smiling face. God has a smiling face behind all the darkness. That kept me. I'm telling you, faith kept me, because when you are going through the sort of things that I was going through, you have to draw from spiritual resources. And then when I say spiritual resources, people think you're talking about religion. Religion and spirituality are totally different things. God is not religious. God is spiritual. So draw strength, draw resources from the spiritual. Hope is spiritual, faith is spiritual, love is spiritual. And those are three pillars that help you. The Apostle Paul in his writing said that these are the three pillars of spirituality. He said, now abide faith, hope, and love. But he said the greatest is love. So when you are going through this time, you've got to also open up yourself for love, for God's love, for divine love, because he truly loves you. It doesn't matter the mistakes you've made. We have made. We do make mistakes and all that, but he loves us and he really cares. And that will keep you going. Okay, so that will keep you going. Don't fight patience, submit to it. Okay, Tokumbo Pamder says, "Good evening. I so much love your podcast. Please help me with the name of USA nominee shares and registers." I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think I've seen you give this same thing somewhere. I think you've actually asked this thing. Do a simple search for whatever it is. Do a simple search online for whatever you're looking for. And then Barmy says, patience, this same patience is paramount in the equity market. I assure you it is. I assure you that it is. Okay. Do what you can. Yes, ST. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Okay, so it's do what you can with what you have, where you are. And then let patience have its course. Because all the times I've ever lost money in my life were times that I wasn't patient. Because behind every large money loss is lack of patience. So patience is a wealth strategy, and that is what the Spirit, continues to try to teach us. Patience is a wealth strategy, if not the most powerful wealth strategy. Patience. So that's a wealth strategy. Okay. G Thinker says, I lost a huge amount of money last year because of lack of information and trusting unknown people and unverified e-commerce platform. This action led me to be in big debt as we speak. Yeah, don't worry, you'll come out of it. Been there, done that, so I was there. And then Skill Blend Learning Center says, poor financial state can affect your mental health if you are not careful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Money is a very, very emotional thing. Very, very emotional thing, you know. It's a very emotional thing. And that is why being part of this kind of community is important, you know. And that's why I actually encourage you to join the Financial Fitness Challenge. If you're going through financial crisis now, you need to be in a community that is uplifting, where you'll be hearing the sort of things I share, you know, with the group, encouraging them. And you're not only hearing that, you're also being under some kind of positive pressure to take action, to invest in your future, to make yourself financially better. And then you're listening to what other people are doing. You're hearing their strategies, and then you're taking action. Two people. I had two people. Somebody showed me, sent to me, it was yesterday. She sent me screenshot of her portfolio. She said she started investing, and then she took the recommendations that I made, the stock recommendations I made in the group, and invested. She showed me her screen something, and she was already netting, forgive me if I don't, but I was saying something like 300%, 400%, 200%, and she was so great. So she said, I just came back to say thank you. So when she saw her result, she was like, so I thanked her. I said, this is great. Not too many people do that. But she sent screenshot and said, I just want to thank you, that she felt that she had to come back to thank me. So it's not enough being in financial whatever, and then you're also keeping a loan, and you're not being in a community where you can see what other people are doing, where a coach who has been through the thing can actually talk to you with compassion, knowing what it feels like, that I have been there. So, and then Tokumbo says, talking about depression, my husband passed in 2008. Now, past 2008, now I don't know. I'm sorry to hear about that, Tokumbo. Sorry to hear about that. But I hope that you actually do heal, and then continue. Tokumbo. So that's why you were asking. But we didn't see the name of USA nominee shares registrars. No, I don't know, Tokumbo. To be honest, if I did, I will be able to tell you that. Okay, so I now see what you're talking about. I think you probably need to talk to an attorney in the US. They may actually be in a very good position to help you. Columbus says, I am confident that this teaching will go a long way to understand the power of patience. Yes. Excellent. Okay, so let's now talk about, let me share a few big ideas, for you, people going through these sort of things. Sometimes these things happen to us simply because life outgrows our current setup. That's really what happened to me, because sometimes you're allowed to be. Remember what I've told you, that there's a certain level of wealth that you can't hold until you have been broken and rebuilt. And then that breaking happens because the structure that we are running cannot support the next level that God wants to take us to. So many times it happens because we don't have the structure. Okay. So when the results collapse, you've made all this effort, you've invested, you've worked hard, like I worked in great places, but then the results collapse, like, it happened to me. The problem was not really my effort, it's the structure. Even my going to invest in Nospetco and then World Zone that wasted all my money, all the family savings. It was because I had poor structure for my money. If I had structure, and if I had the kind of structure I have today, and then the kind of boundaries that I have today, it would never have happened. So hard work stops working when life demands a new structure. So what you are going through right now, I need to frame it very well for you. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. There wasn't anything wrong with me, when mine happened. If you've lost everything, it's not because there is anything wrong with you. It is the evidence that your old operating system can no longer support your current life, much more even support where you are going. So when you're in this situation, stop asking, what am I doing wrong? That's not a good question for now. You should be asking, what has my life outgrown? So for instance, my life at that time had outgrown, just spending anyhow. My life had outgrown not having assets, for the future. You can imagine, I was using my salary, to do summer holidays instead of investing. If I had actually put all that money that I use for traveling for summer, every summer with the family, I would have far more wealth today to go for all the summers that we actually want in the world. Now, the second thing is what the low financial seasons reveal that high seasons hide. You also need to know that. Okay? Low seasons do not necessarily come to destroy you. Like my low season went on for 8 years. 8 years. It never destroyed me. It didn't destroy the family. Nobody fell sick. Nobody died. It's incredible. It's incredible. We went through all those things. And I never fell sick one day. My wife didn't fall sick. Nobody, but it was terrible with all the squatting, with all the difficulties. So your current financial crisis is not there to destroy you. It was not sent to destroy you. And I can tell you, it will never destroy you. That's a good place to actually say amen. Amen just means I agree with you. Okay? It will never destroy you. And then some of you have been in this financial crisis for 3, 4, 5 years, even 8 years like myself. And you're still there breathing, you're healthy, you've not had any organ failure, you've not had, and you're still there. So that is proof that if it was to destroy you, if it was sent to destroy you, it actually would have destroyed you. But one of the first things that they do, which is also good for you, is that these low seasons expose what success, your previous success, covered up. See, my previous success, that was the basis of the story I was saying. My previous successes with Shell, working with Shell, with Chevron, was covering a lot of things which would have destroyed me if those things kept going. Okay, one of the things it uncovered was that I was living a fake life. That all those things I was having was because of Shell. The business class traveling, the traveling around the whole world, Yeah, Pato, you're very funny. Say healthy poor man. You remind me of what a wise man said. He said, you're joking, but health is actually, so there's healthy poor man, and then the corollary of that is a wealthy sick man. which one would you rather be? Be honest. Would you rather be a healthy poor man if you were to choose only between those two options, or a wealthy sick man? And you might say, oh, if I'm wealthy, then I will treat myself. But you're sick. They say that that wise man said that when you are healthy, that you have too many prayer points, too many desires. But that when you are sick, you have only one. So it's important. It's actually something to be thankful for, that through all the challenges and all the difficulties, that you are healthy. I'm telling you, there are wealthy people who would like to trade places with you, to look as healthy as you and your wife, and to look as healthy for their children, to look as healthy as your child, is. Okay, so what this thing revealed was that I was living a fake life financially. So income was carrying habits, not wisdom. That income I was getting from Shell, it was carrying habit. Go to summer every whatever, so buy things and all that. So income was carrying habits, terrible habits, bad habits, not wisdom. That's one of the things that I discovered. The second thing that I discovered that my financial difficulty exposed was that cash flow was masking weak systems, or even no systems at all. I had very weak system, or even no system. So the cash flow that was coming in regularly from my Shell job, it was masking the fact that I didn't even have a system, that I didn't have investment, that if I stopped working, all that thing would collapse. Now, the third thing that it exposed was that the confidence I was having was borrowed from my position in Shell. It was not borrowed from my capacity to survive outside of Shell. So within Shell, I had the capacity. I had the capacity. I was the GIS specialist, to become a specialist in Shell that had tens of thousands of employees. And then for you to be a specialist, in fact, the very first local GIS specialist in Shell, that was huge capacity. But that capacity only worked in that Shell building. Outside, and that was a big problem, because I was thrown outside and I found that I didn't have capacity to function in the outside world. So that thing exposed it, because in Shell, I was big, man. I was big. I could borrow money. The banks used to come in to the office to give us products, give us all kinds of things, all kinds of credit. And then through the cooperative, I remember one occasion I took 18 million naira. It took 2 days. The cooperative processed it. It came 18 million, just like that. There was capacity, but all those things were borrowed from the fact that I was a Shell staff. When I left Shell staff, no bank could give me that kind of money. So do you see the weak systems it is revealing? Because many times, if you don't know your vulnerabilities before, remember, that's why I said that there's a level of wealth that you can only carry if you have been broken and rebuilt. So you could see, I wasn't broken. So this thing was for my good. That financial crisis was for my good. I was not broken. Can you imagine? I could get 18 million in one application without going to the bank, and it went straight to my account. Who did that sort of thing, in those days? But that capacity was borrowed because I was Shell employee. Then when that thing went, I didn't have that capacity. So my confidence was borrowed from my position, not based on my capacity. But then you come out there, you come out in the world, outside Shell, you see people with capacity, young people with capacity, my goodness. Dr. Cosmas, what was his last name? Madoka, the Koschari's billionaire, dollar billionaire, not naira billionaire. He told us a story. He was on an event that I facilitated. And then he was being interviewed. He told a story how a bank came to his house, gave him 32 billion naira of that time. It's not a recent thing. That was a lot of money. Give him 32 billion naira. No collateral. No nothing signed. Man, do you know the kind of capacity that is to be able to attract that kind of capital without collateral? But you go to your bank and say, okay, you want to borrow money. They will say, bring your grandmother. Bring a CFO. Bring this, bring it. And how much are you trying to borrow? $1,500. And the bank will tell you to bring all those things. Yeah, it takes capacity. I didn't have it. So that was what my financial crisis revealed to me. And it was good it revealed it. Otherwise, you'll be there living false life, thinking that you're good and that you're a big boy, but you're not. Okay? And then the other thing it revealed, to me, was that my spending was emotional. It was not intentional. Emotional spending. My goodness. If it wasn't emotional, why should I be going for? Why should I? And I remember one of the summer holidays, my goodness, we landed, the whole family, we landed in JFK. And then instead of flying, we were going to a city in Colorado called Greeley. So instead of flying to Denver and having them pick us up, I decided, let me give the family a tour of the United States. So I rented a car from New York. We drove almost 4,000 kilometers all the way from New York, JFK, all the way to Greeley. It took us 3 days. Stopping in different places. I spent so much money. Buying tickets, renting cars, doing all that. So it was emotional. But if I was intentional and I invested that money today, I could take all the summer holidays I want, Okay, so money doesn't just buy comfort. It hides inefficiencies. Even in small business, money hides inefficiencies. That's why many times I encourage small businesses, people who want to start a business, don't start with borrowed money. Bootstrap. Start with your own money. Because that's why sometimes you hear, this person, this company, these young people, they raised, I'm sure you hear it all the time, $80 million, and everybody will be clapping for them. They raised $16 million from venture capitalists. Everybody will be clapping for them. 2-3 years down the line. You can give me some examples if you know what I'm talking about. Can give me some examples. Many African companies, 2 years down the line, this company has collapsed. But they're the people you just heard, they borrowed or they took $25 million. Because if you don't know how to manage your own $500, borrowing $500,000 to start a business will not solve the problem, because throwing money at a problem, at a bad business model, will never solve it. So money hides inefficiencies. And that's what it did to me, because the money was coming in big quantity and coming regularly in a predictable way as a shell employee. It was hiding my inefficiencies with money. Okay? Abundance hides leaks, but scarcity reveals them. So we need these experiences in our lives. Life can't just be every day, sunshine, sunshine, sunshine. So sometimes life actually allows it to bring in heavy rains and storms so that we can get balanced, so that you can be entrusted with bigger wealth. Look at the kind of money that Dangote is handling, Jim Ovia, these names you're talking about, Tony Elumelu, what are these billionaires, Femi Otedola, or the Bill Gates of this world. Look at the kind of money. Look at the kind of money Elon Musk is handling, is managing. Do you know if they give you that level of money now, it will kill you? Did you know that? It will kill you because you don't have the capacity to hold that kind of money. You actually think you know what to do. With $1 billion, if they give it to you, some of you will run mad. Some of you will run mad. The way poverty is making people run mad is the way sudden abundance will make people run mad. A friend of mine called the wife, said, okay, if they give you, how much did he even say? Like 2 billion or something. See, if they give you 2 billion, now spend it. And she said, okay, we'll buy a house. Okay, how much is the house? He said, okay, 180 million. All right. Then we do this. Do you know she couldn't spend 2 billion? Yeah, she couldn't spend the 2 billion. Okay. All right. So that is very, very important. And so you need to be asking yourself, what did this season expose? This season you are going through, what is it exposing about your money habits? Because at the end of it, what will bring you out is your habit. I'm not saying that miracles don't happen. Miracles happen, but what will bring you out is your habit. Because people receive miracles and then they go back to square one. Because miracles don't sustain success. Habits do. What is your current financial crisis exposing about your identity, about who you are? What is it exposing about your system? So these are 3 questions I need you to ask. And somebody can actually type them in the comment section. So number 1, what is your financial crisis exposing about your money habits? You need to actually write them down. Take down these questions. Write them down. What is this season exposing? This season of financial downcasting or something. Exposing about your money habits, that's number 1. Number 2, what is it exposing about your identity, about who you are? Because many times the way you spend money and your attitude to money reveals a lot about who you are. There are people who will be amazing, they look good and all that, but until money comes into the equation, is it exposing the fact that you are unfaithful with money? You borrow, you don't return. You are the kind of person you borrow money without the intention of returning. That's why the universe is actually giving you back. Because many times, our money experiences are a reflection of our identity. So you need to understand what your money situation is revealing about you. And then the third thing, like somebody says in the comment section, this season has been exposing how lazy I am. Yes. Because you need to actually be very honest with yourself. That's the only way to move forward. You need to be, what is this situation? What is this season exposing about my identity? A lot of us just go out there, money. Hey, money, I must make it, and then Ola of Lagos will come and show you 3-point-something million dollar mansion, luxury mansion, according to him. And then you go to the comment section, everybody saying, I must make it, I must not be poor. I must never be poor. My family must not be poor. I must make it. It doesn't work that way. And then many times when they say I must make it, without all this understanding, all these things I'm teaching you, then many of them, lack of skills, lack of whatever, many of them now end up, because they say they must make it, they end up doing horrible things, drugs, putting their hands into all kinds of things because they want to buy the house that Ola of Lagos is showing them online. And that's foolishness going on, everywhere. So, and thirdly, what is it exposing about your systems or lack of faith? If you're in your 40s and 50s and you do not have a system, clear system for your money, your journey is still very far. If you don't have a system, chances are you're going to die struggling financially. If you don't have a system in your 20s, it's not even good, but it will not punish you as much as if you're in your 40s and you don't have a system. And this financial crisis could be exposing your system. How different would it have been, for instance, if you had a system that specified that you must have an emergency fund of 1 year that you don't touch? An emergency fund of 1 year means that if anything happens to you within 1 year, you can still continue with your current quality of life, your current standard of living without anything dropping. And then within the 12 months, you will now have a chance to re-engineer yourself or to find an alternative opportunity. So when I go to hold retreats or leadership development for organizations. So during the first part of it, where we look at the will, I often ask them something about their personal finance. And I ask, if you stop working today, in fact, I'm asking you people here the same question. If you stop working today, how long will you last still living your current standard of life without the thing dropping, without you going out of rent money, without you begging, without you calling for help? You can answer, And then some people tell me, oh, if my job stops today or if my salary stops today, I can't last 1 week. So, because this situation is exposing that lack of system. Okay. So, exposure is painful. Exposure is painful, but it is diagnostic, not punitive. Because if you don't know where the bullet is coming from, how will you dodge? If you don't know what brought you to where you are right now, to this financial crisis, how will you end it? And how will you prevent the future one? So it is diagnostic. It is not punitive, okay? Even though it is painful, admitting this truth to yourself. Okay, Festus says just 1 month. That's fair. That's a good start. That's a good start. You can build emergency fund for, from 1 month, make it 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Just make it a system, And then Eric says 2 weeks. That's not terribly bad. That's a good start. But just become intentional to build an emergency fund, ultimately that can last for 1 year minimum. But it's okay if you just have 1 month. Continue to increase your emergency fund until you can build it up to 12 months. So that whatever happens, no matter the disaster, anything that happens to you or to the economy, you'll still be able to last. See what's going on in Iran. The currency totally collapsed. And then somebody was mentioning the other days, people who have their money in Bitcoin, very, very smart. And they've been, kind of storing their emergency fund in Bitcoin. And the guy, these people's currency is collapsed, dead. But the guys, who have stored their emergency fund in Bitcoins, they are not going to feel the problems going on right now in that country. Okay, so now let's talk about, somebody was asking, how do you build capacity? I don't know how that question was framed because it scrolled up and I can't find it, but you can ask that question again. But let me talk about capacity building because I think the person wanted to know how I went from Shell to build the capacity. And the fundamental shift you have to make is to not to hustle, but to go from hustle to capacity building. Because in this stage, hustling will not save you. Hustling is like you're already in a pit and you are digging yourself. You're hustling. The more you hustle, let me tell you why hustling is a terrible idea. Okay, especially hustling beyond a certain, like if you're coming out of school, fresh graduate and all that, you may hustle, in the real sense of the hustle, a year, maximum 2 years. But when you've been hustling continuously for 10 years, it's not a good thing. It's exhausting. It's like, if you have seen in the wild, National Geographic or any of those images, when a python wraps itself, or a boa constrictor wraps itself against its prey, let's say a deer, have you noticed that anytime the deer stirs, the python tightens? Because what is it communicating to the python? That it is still alive. And if I leave it, it will be able to run, it will escape, and I won't be able to catch it. So the boa constrictor or the python continues to weave itself, its powerful muscular body around the prey until it squeezes life out of it. So many times just lying low. So it's like you're hustling. The more you hustle, the more your financial situation tightens itself around you. So that's why the smart thing to do is to shift from hustling, from the mentality of hustling, to capacity building. Because the money you're looking for is in capacity. Hustle is okay as a short-term solution. Short-term solution, hustle is okay. You really must hustle. Because I remember I used to wake up early in the morning, going around, looking for something to do to feed the family. And then I hustled. At some point, I started making and selling fruit juices. So that was hustling as a short-term solution, fantastic. But if you're thinking about a long-term answer, then you have to talk about capacity. Okay? You have to think about capacity. So working harder didn't fix it for me. More hours didn't change the outcomes. Motivation was good. It's short-term thing, but motivation kept burning out. But it was good at that time, to be honest with you. I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn. I listened to a lot of Les Brown. I listened to a lot of Bob Proctor, and they were really very helpful. Motivation has its place, Motivation has its place, but Zig Ziglar would ask. I listen to a lot of Zig Ziglar as well, but like Zig Ziglar would respond to critics of motivational speaking and motivational speakers, and the people say, "Oh, the problem." So they will tell Zig Ziglar, "Oh, motivation does not last." And then Zig Ziglar will retort, "So does your bathing. So does your having a bath." So some people say, "Oh, it doesn't last." Something, you take a bath every day. So motivation has its place, but it is not enough. So the real shift for me came when I stopped chasing income and started building capacity. So what is capacity? Capacity is how much responsibility you can carry, is how much complexity you can handle, is how much money you can manage without leaking, is how much pressure you can absorb without panic. So income grows, therefore, when capacity grows. So there are some practical capacity buckets that I developed that I focused on that you can do. The number one capacity was in the area of financial literacy. I read a lot because I needed to understand how money works. Okay, I needed to understand how money works. So I built a lot of financial capacity. I read a lot of Robert Kiyosaki. I read a couple of fictions as well. I did read a lot. Literally everything Frank Peretti wrote. You can look up Frank Peretti, This Present Darkness. So I read because I discovered that also when you are going through financial difficulties, that many times fictions, good books, good fictions help. I read a lot of Stephen King's. I read a lot of his literature, because what fiction does is actually expand your imagination. Then I read books like fictions like Ogmandino's The Greatest Salesman in the World. I read The Alchemist by Paul Coelho, and a couple of books. So I expanded my financial literacy capacity, reading books on sales, on marketing, on how money works. Secondly, the second practical capacity bucket is emotional regulation under pressure. My. Financial hardship can put pressure on you. Okay, imagine that you're going through this time, and then unfortunately, one of your parents is sick and needs medical treatment abroad. And you love your mother. But then you're in a situation where you can hardly feed your family, but then your mother, it can be terrible, the emotional, and then I know people who have been in this situation and then they lost a parent. And part of why they lost the parent was they couldn't afford, they couldn't afford the quality of medical treatment to save their father or their mother or their brother. And then the emotional pressure of school fee is due. Oh, after the weekend, school fee is due on Monday. Today is Friday, and you don't have it. And then your children need to go back to boarding house. And then the school has said, if they do not come with the receipt of their school fees, don't even let them come. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So you need to develop your emotional regulation, your emotional intelligence. How do you maintain peace and calm under such pressures? Because financial problems come with serious pressures, like the ones I've just told you. Okay? And I would like someone in the comment section to share. Okay? I would like you to share if you have had this kind of emotional pressure. Then the third practical bucket, capacity bucket, is decision-making clarity. If there's a time that you need, to be very, very clear-headed and then to make high-quality decisions, it is when you are going through this time, because one good decision can take you out of this. One bad decision can worsen the situation. And then fourth, system thinking instead of task thinking. So that's very, very important. Thinking systems. There are 4 reasons people over 40 suffer financially. The first is that they have poor financial literacy. The second one is that they do not participate in the financial markets. The third is that they do not have systems and they do not think in systems. And then the fourth is that they do not have power circle. You do not belong to such circle that your name can be mentioned in places that matter. If your name can be mentioned in places that matter, it's just one place. It's just one place. They mention your name and everything will change. Okay. So this bad financial season is not asking you to try harder. It's asking you to grow wider, to grow deeper and studier. And then one book that never left my side through it all and that will never leave my side for the rest of my life is the Bible. Read it. Read it, from your heart. If you're going through terrible financial situation now, you can actually start with Solomon's writing. There are 31 chapters in it, one for a day in the month. It will transform your life. I am not talking theory. I not only read it, I got myself and everybody in the house, to read it. We will read it together and talk about it and share incredible insights, Okay, so now let's talk about the rebuild. How do you rebuild? Okay, let me say that recovery starts with dignity and a deep sense of self-worth and self-image. Let me explain that. The first thing, especially if you're a man, married man, and then you have children, your father, the first thing, I'm talking from my experience, the first thing, the financial crisis, prolonged financial embarrassment, the first thing it attacks is your self-image. The first thing it attacks is your self-worth, your sense of worth. Why that is extremely dangerous is that society seems to measure the worth of a human soul by how much they carry in their wallets or how much is in their bank account. It's very tragic. It's very tragic. Nobody should ever measure the worth of his soul by his bank account. So you must find a way to disconnect, because that helped me. I have never been one to measure my worth based on how much I was earning. Because if you measure yourself by money, when the money is not there, you're finished. You're going to feel worthless. But you've got to separate your wealth, your self-worth from your money, from your finances. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for something terrible. Did you know that your value is the same whether you have $10 or you have $10 million? The $10 million, the value of a human soul, whether it is 1 billion or whether it is $1, makes no difference. But the problem is that people attach the value of their soul, the value of their spirituality, the value of their existence to money. Terrible. And it's also part of why we're having the issues that we're having in our society. There's also sorts of pride that people feel. You know, as long as their bank account is swelling, they are also feeling big and important, and then self-worth. And then we start having titles: Odogu, Chief Doctor, Alhaji, there's something of something of this or that, of this village. Then when the money is no longer there, they fall flat, they are deflated. It's terrible. So I'm warning you, don't tie your self-worth to money. It's horrible. Like, if I lose everything today, it's not gonna. Many people never knew what I was going through. Even our neighbors, they never knew. Because there was joy in my family, and then they see me and my wife, strolling, laughing. I'm chasing her, I'm doing pillow fight with her and things like that. They have no idea. Because we didn't go telling anybody that I was suffering. People had no idea. Because of the way we carried ourselves. Why? Because we don't value ourselves based on how much we have or how much we don't have. It's dangerous. So when I have $1 million, I feel great. When it drops down to $115, I feel terrible. Why? Because I attached myself to money. So beware that you don't, that you preserve your, your self-worth, because lack of money will attack it. It will attack it. So don't let money define your identity. Don't let money define your self-worth, who you are. Okay? So maintain your dignity, your self-worth. And again, I like the advice that a 90-something-year-old woman gave to her son, who happened to be my friend. Victor, if you're watching this, thank you. Your mother was extremely wise. The mother told my friend Victor, he said, when you are going through financial hardship, be careful not to do something that you are going to regret when that thing goes. A lot of women have compromised only to discover that if they had waited for just 3 more days, they would still have gotten that thing they were looking for without selling their body. Now they have done it. It can't be undone. The guilt, the shame. Somebody waited for 5 years. Waited for 5 years. No job. And then she enters the office, and then this man says to her, just do it with me, and then you have your job. And then she does it with him. But then by Monday, another company that she had applied for 2 years before all of a sudden called her and then offer her something far much bigger than what the one that slept with her wanted to. This is life. I'm 60 years old. I hear a lot. I see a lot. I'm still young, and I still consider myself youth, given that I'm still going to be here for another 40 or 50 years. Some of you are going to still see me, for a while, for a long time. I see a lot. And this is the sort of thing you should be hearing. This is wealth. This is wealth class. Wealth is not just to go here and start talking about money. Put your money in this stock market. We will do that. But this is the foundation. This is wealth 101. So, Victor's mother said, when you are going through financial hardship, don't do anything that 2 years later, when everything is okay, you will regret that you did it. Preserve your self-worth. Secondly, preserve your values. Don't compromise on values, like the one I just told you. A lot of our girls do it, and they say it doesn't matter. It matters. I'm like a father to many of you, because many of you are, like the age of, much younger than my youngest child. So young women, I can tell you, if you're listening to this, it's not worth it. No job, no amount of money is worth giving up your virtue, which is the most precious thing and priceless thing you have. Your virtue. And then later, you should keep it, for the man that deserves you. So keep your values. Don't steal. Don't take bribe because things are hard. That was my experience. I was called I was approached by a state government to do some work for them within the tenure of that governor, So one of the governors now who is wanting to be president. He was actually a great governor. And then what they asked me to do for his people was actually born out of compassion. And they really meant it. But the commissioner who was interfacing with me for the work, I don't think that the governor knew that the commissioner was that corrupt. So we were to do something for them that had 5 phases. 5 phases. So I flew into the state capital and did the first phase of that project. And then this guy, not only that he underpaid me, he refused to send the money to my account. But rather he dragged the bag, a straw bag, into my hotel room and paid me cash. So you already begin to know that there's something very fishy about it. He refused to, he brought cash. So I was trembling as I was carrying that amount of cash, flying to Lagos to go deposit in a bank. So now I get back to Lagos, and that same evening, I had hardly settled down when this guy called me, the commissioner. He said, "Hey, Ogbo, that please, when you are sending us your invoice, that you should leave a space. You should leave a space. I shouldn't draw the line and put the total, that they have 1 or 2 things that they want to, to rationalize and put there." I don't know do you understand? If you understand this thing, where this thing is going, type yes in the comment section. That's what the guy said. I should leave a blank space on my, so if I'm sending invoice, which is on my letterhead, I should leave a blank space that where he can, fill in 1 or 2 things. I said, wow. Before he finished, I said, "Mr. Commissioner, sir, I will not do that. I'm going to give you a receipt, and it is going to be exactly the amount of money that you paid me." I didn't even let him to. You know what? He dropped the phone. Guess what? He killed the remaining 4 phases. He killed the remaining 4 phases. I would never take the money that won't let me sleep. And I can't do that. I can't do that because, and it was in the middle of very difficult period. This same difficult financial period. And I remember at that time I was owing school fee. I needed to pay school fee. So I could easily have said, okay, no problem, and I'll give him. And then by the time I'm, wake up one day, maybe some 7 years later, that state government will invite me and explain how this work you did, explain how it is 12 billion. And it's on my letterhead, it's on my signature. And then I'll be telling them, no, that that's not what they paid me. This is what they paid me. Meanwhile, what they paid me was cash. So there was no record. And then there's no way. So I'll end up whatever. And then even if they don't call me to ask, there's also the conscience police. I don't know how people do things like that and then they're able to sleep, and some do it and they're still able to kneel down and to pray. So do not compromise your value. It's not worth it. And then, by the way, if that thing was to happen and they call me like 7 years later to come and explain how that job I did was 12 billion, the man won't be there. The commissioner I'm talking about even is dead. I think about 3 years ago, I was taking a walk in the street and I saw his poster somewhere. I said, what? This guy is dead. He's dead. So money is not worth it. It's not worth throwing your soul away. I'm telling you, this thing called money. Peace is important. You need peace. You don't want to compromise your value because things are going bad. The other thing that you want to focus on is on your relationships. Don't sacrifice your relationships. Your immediate relationship, I'm assuming that if you're in your 40s and 50s and you're a man like me, I'm assuming you're married, you have a spouse. Don't sacrifice the time you need to spend with your spouse. If you're a woman, and don't sacrifice the time that you need to spend with your wife if you're a man. It's not worth it. Because at the end of it, you can hustle, sacrifice your wife and your children, time with your children, because you're going through hardship. You can get that money. When you get the money, you've lost your wife and your children. And you're starving your wife or starving your spouse emotionally. You come back so drained. She wants to have time with you. She wants to talk with you, share with you, her heart. And then you just eat, lie down in the bed, sleep off and start snoring. Next morning, you go out again. You're leaving the woman emotionally starved. And before you know it, the devil starts giving her ideas. And then there's somebody in the neighborhood, somebody in the church who listens to her, who gives her ears. And so she starts sharing, her emotional whatever. And then one thing leads to the other. So at the end of it, you become a billionaire, but you've lost your wife and you've lost your children. You weren't giving them attention. So don't lose your family, because when you're on your deathbed, that's when you realize that all you have is family. When you realize all you have is family. And so, going back to what I told you, a certain level of wealth can only be given to you when you are broken and when you are rebuilt. Okay, so let me give you a practical framework that helped me in coming out of this situation. So the first one is cash flow clarity. You can write that. Oh, thank you for your gift. Some people have given gifts. Thank you very much. That's kind of you. The princess. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's good. Thank you. Okay. So let me give you a practical framework to rebuild. Okay. So number one is that you need to develop cash flow clarity. Okay, know what comes in, know what leaves, know what why, no matter how much that money is, because confusion is more expensive than low income. So know what comes in, what is coming in. You should actually start keeping tab of your money, because my situation was amplified because I didn't have good record keeping. So know what enters, know what leaves, know why it leaves every time. So even though money is limited for rent, for school fees and things like that, at least keep cash flow, be clear. Because one of the things that your cash flow clarity will do for you is that you can see that in January, for instance, what needs to go out. Maybe there's rent, maybe there's a children's school fees, maybe there's some medical, something totally top. So in January, you might see that what needs to go out, let's say 6 million naira. And then you look at what is coming in. You might say, oh, 6 million naira. But then what is coming in is only like 400,000 or 500,000. I've been in situations like that where 10 million needs to go out and then only 650,000 is coming in. At least have that clarity. The brain loves it. Number 2, you need to have one reliable income anchor. You need to have one reliable income anchor, something that is bringing in money reliably, predictably. Let me give you the secret. Selling is the shortcut to coming out of financial problems. Many of you are still having financial difficulties because you can't sell. Not that you can't sell. Let me remove that. Let me remove the can't, because you won't sell. Because any of us would sell. You can literally sell yourself out of any financial difficulty that you have right now. You can sell yourself out of it. Selling is so powerful. And then many people misunderstand selling. They think that selling means deceiving people or making people buy what they don't want to buy. No, that's not selling. Selling, that's deception. But selling is the most noble career in the universe. Because selling is helping, is helping helping people to solve their problems. So in your neighborhood, you've discovered that in the whole of the neighborhood, that there is no car wash. Before people leave your estate to get a car wash, to get their cars washed, they have to drive at least 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers. The car wash is something that should be accessible within a radius of 1 kilometer in certain places. You shouldn't drive past 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers without finding a place to wash your car. It's a neighborhood business, so that's a problem. So selling means that you decide, okay, it might not be you doing the washing, but you decide this is a low-hanging fruit. You decide, you know what, these ghetto boys that keep roaming around the whole place, why don't I organize somewhere within the estate where people can wash? And I employ these people. They can start manually washing. So they wash a car, say for 5,000 naira, and then for each 5,000 naira that they wash, you give them 1,000. That's a lot of commission. And you have solved the problem for the neighbor. That is selling. That is selling. Problems are payments in disguise. So selling is finding out the problem that people have and then solving it, giving them a solution, connecting them to a solution. That's what selling is. So if you have a solution to people's problem and then you are not selling, that's wickedness. That's wickedness. So if you don't take anything from this segment, I want you to take the fact that you can sell yourself out of financial problems. Type it. For somebody, that should be. You can sell yourself out of financial problems. So if there's anything that you need to learn, it is how to sell. So have one reliable income that brings in something. You can set up an everyday morning, even in your neighborhood there, and you don't need a store to start telling people, listen, you can get this. I provide this. I practice what I preach. Last year, and I'm still going to do it this year, I sold honey. I'm a business coach. I train leaders for big organizations like MTN, like Flutter Wave, like a particular bank I'm going to work with next weekend. But I saw opportunity to solve a problem because honey, I understand, is the third most adulterated food in the whole universe. And people are eating fake honey that they buy from supermarkets, from the roadsides, and developing all kinds of organ failures. And I know that I can solve that honey problem, and because we use honey in our house, we don't use sugar. I traveled around the villages of one state because I know what honey used to taste like. I know how people in those days, in the 70s, hunters will go. We had a very big bush called Agonabani. Some of you from that area will immediately be surprised that bush was actually behind our house. And then late in the night, hunters would enter that forest and then harvest honey all night. Then in the morning, they'll be coming out through the path that passes our house, and my mother would go waylay them and then buy the honey. My God, the taste of natural wild honey. I guarantee you, it's nothing like the farmed. There's no problem with the bee farming. The bee farmers are doing very, very well. And then I support small businesses. But I've never been convinced taking honey farmed it's not the same from this honey in the wild. So what did I do? I took my truck, fueled my diesel truck, traveled around the whole place. I was looking for these hunters that I used to know, whether they still have generations of them in the 70s. I was solving a problem. I solved that problem for myself. And I'm like, wait a minute. There are other people who have this problem. People don't have access to good honey all over the world. So I now found the first set of hunters. But then it turned out that these hunters use a pesticide that in this part of the world, I don't know if you know the chemical name, it's horrible. They call it otapiapia in Nigeria. I don't know what they call it in Ghana. But God knows, terrible, horrible chemical. If they spray it in your room, mosquitoes won't go there. You can't even, unless you open the windows. For me, if you use it here, the windows have to be open for 2 days before I could feel comfortable in it. Now, so this is what these hunters use. They use this chemical. They put it at the tip of the stick and put a sponge on it, soaked with this thing, and then take it up to the bees. So the bees will be collapsing, and then they will harvest the hive. I said, no way. This is still the same problem. This is still going to be cancerous because there's no way these chemicals don't get there. And then it's not being harvested naturally and efficiently because you shouldn't kill the bees when you are harvesting the honey. Yeah, the chemical is choking. That's what so I now said, I had already made arrangements for them to, so I now asked them, I wanted to go with them to the bush. So we arranged to go to the bush. that particular day, somehow it didn't work out for me to travel from the city to the village to go with them. So I now asked them over the phone, okay, just give me an idea about your process. How do you harvest these bees from the forest? And then they described this process to me. I killed it immediately. I said, no way, no way. And I had bought from them before. So I heard that process, I stopped. Now I started researching, and then I found one guy who still does it the ancient way. This guy does not go there with any insecticide. And I sent my boy to go with him. I have the videos. I can upload the videos, for you guys sometime, So he followed them in the night and videoed this guy's process. He has a certain leaf which he refused to disclose because, something ancestral, whatever. But so he puts it in his mouth, and then the bees, disperse, and then he harvests it. So my guy captured all these things. He does not mix it with water or anything. And I said to him, even if you are going to sell double what other people sell, I need you to give me the real thing, and then sell double, I will buy. That's how I got that guy. And selling is simply that I came to the same story, which I told you. It's a true story. I told it out there. I made millions from selling honey last year. So what am I saying? You can sell yourself out of your current financial problem. Keep your ego aside. Keep your ego. Don't say, I'm a PhD holder. I'm a former Shell staff. Who? And so with your PhD, so have one reliable income anchor. Okay. And then number 3, decision reduction. Fewer choices, fewer leaks, fewer mistakes. Make less decisions. And this will help you when you can practice like Pareto. The Pareto principle. Out of all the things that you are doing right now, what are the 20% of all your activities right now that produce 80% of your result? What are you going to have to cut out of your life? You have to cut out a lot of things. You have to cut out a lot of things that's not necessary. Audit your activities, and then ask yourself, what are the income generating activities in my life? What are the income producing activities in my life? Anything that is not it might be nice, but I don't have. Okay, yesterday we had people who were going to viewing center to watch Nigeria and I think it was Morocco play. Man, God, in viewing centers and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I was telling my wife here, when I become wealthy, I will do that. But that is not an income producing activity. It's a nice to have activity. It's not an income producing activity for me. Why in the world will it be there? Oh, and then, like in my own list, it's not an income producing activity to be waking up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. every morning to join an altar. It doesn't produce income for me. That's absolute nonsense. It might for you, but not for me. So make an audit, reduce the decisions that you have to make. Because if you now focus on the 20% that really matters a lot, networking, going out there, being face to face with the prospect, with your potential customer for whatever it is that you're doing. That is what I'm doing right now. It's a revenue generating activity for me. So I'm giving it time. So it reduces my decisions because I know that every day, anytime between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m., I'll come online and teach the whole world. So it streamlines my day. It determines what meetings I attend, what I do, what I don't do. Then number 4, daily order: sleep, food, exercise, creating a thinking space, maintain order. Wealth loves order. And if you look at truly wealthy people, they have order in their lives. Anytime that there is confusion and poverty go together, chaos. When you go to wealthy neighborhoods, you will see order. Places are clean. Trees are planted where trees should be. If you look at gates and you look at everything, there's order. There's order. Then you go to the poverty neighborhood, poor neighborhood, you see chaos. Everything. You see waste dump here. Next to the waste dump, you see a restaurant. People are eating, and then next to the restaurant, you see a public toilet. Horrible, chaotic, no order. Okay? So, have daily order. Your sleep, your food, your exercise, your routines, and all those things help. Okay? So, be very consistent. Okay? Be very, very consistent with that. All right. So some seasons, like this time you're going through financial difficulty, they are not meant to be escaped. Don't run away. And then don't try to beg your way through it. Don't try to beg your way. I remember approaching a friend, former schoolmate, who was a multi-billionaire. We are made to believe at that time. I was under pressure. I was so sure that this guy, given, that we were mates, I was so sure this guy would sort me out. At the end of it, I regretted asking. And at the end of it, what I was asking him for still happened without him. So this season is not meant for you to escape. Let it shape you. Let it force you to build system. Let it force you to take responsibility for your future, for your finances, for your family, for your destiny, for the dreams, your dreams and your children's dreams. Okay? So, this season, in my own case, like I've told you, it taught me patience. It stripped entitlement from me. It's stripped entitlement. You don't owe me anything. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody, no aunt, no uncle, nobody, no government owns me anything. That's what this season did for me. Because if it is to be, it's got to be up to me. It sharpened my discernment. I can smell, how do they put it? I can smell BS, from 10 kilometers away right now. That's what this did for me. And it also built empathy, wisdom, and restraint for me. So, in summary again, some wealth can only be held by someone who has been broken and rebuilt. Have you been helped this evening? Tell me, how has this helped you? I would like to hear from you in the comment section. All right, so let me read a couple of comments but go ahead and tell me how this has helped you. And then if there is any follow-up topic you would like me to do, I'll be very happy to do that. Just put it in the comment section right now before the comment section closes. Chooks Amefule. Hello, Mr. Ogbo. It's good to see you. This is consistency defined. My son was in the same class with your son in Corona School, Bagada. Whoa! I remember you. I would like to connect back with you. Chooks Amefule. My wife and I were just talking about you the other day. Whoa! How is your son? That's amazing. I think I was asking my son and whether they've connected or something, and they did. Yeah, okay. Very good. Let's reconnect, and also with your dear wife. That's amazing. Good to see you here. Yes, thank you. That's consistency. That's one thing we've been doing. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Mufuli. Wow, that's wonderful. Okay, Festus says wealth loves order. The wealthy people are orderly. The poor neighborhood is characterized with disorder. In fact, let me tell you, this is crazy. This is not a coincidence. Let me tell you. You see, Mr. Amefule and his wife, who are on this call here, they met us. Part of the time that time we met was already part of when we were going through our terrible times, but people didn't know. But one of those occasions, I couldn't pay school fees. I couldn't pay school fees, for my son that he's talking about that was in the same class. I think your son, what's the name of your son? Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember, precious boy. I'm trying to remember his name. It's just dancing in my head. So one day, the school chased my son away from that school, Corona Bagada, because I couldn't pay. I couldn't pay school fee. So this little boy went to me. He's very close to my son. So he went back home, and then either told the mother that they haven't been seen his friend or something. And this amazing couple, without our knowing it, they went ahead and paid my son's school fees. We didn't ask them. We didn't know. They just did it. It's incredible. So you can see how the stories I've told you just came alive, even in the life. This is so shocking. It's not a coincidence. It's amazing. This amazing couple, Mr. and Miss Amefule, paid. They paid my son's school fee for that term. And that's how he got through. So you see, what I'm telling you is life. Life. I'm very, very true. And then when you are going through it, like we say, God has a way of bringing in angels, like Mr. and Miss Amefule, to meet you at that point where it looks like you just sit down, there's just nothing to do but to just wait. And God is merciful through it all. He provides a way. So, this is amazing. Thank you. Okay, Skill Blend Learning Center says, I'm learning from our mentor and also sharing my experience on my channel. Okay, fantastic. Okay, good. Machiavelli says, my aha moment behind every money loss is lack of patience. Very good. Mercy Limo. Okay, you need to visit Nigeria. Okay, I'm not sure how that works. Festus says, some wealth can only be held by those who have been broken and rebuilt. Absolutely. Rehoboth says, what time is this meeting? It starts every day, anytime between 8 and midnight. Anytime between 8 p.m. GMT +1 and midnight. Because sometimes I'm traveling, in different time zones. So I still try to adapt. And then it can last anywhere from 60 minutes to 3 hours, depending on what we are talking about. Clement says, oh yes, it has widened my horizon about giving my money. Good structure, fantastic. Okay, all right, okay. And then Mba Junior says, I've really learned a lot from your channel. This is probably the best channel I've come through this time. You are very welcome. You are very welcome. Yeah, first thoughts, the story just came alive. Such is life. Fantastic, very true. Okay. Jude says, sell, sell, sell. Yes, you can sell yourself out of any financial situation. VapView says, please, I want you to help us on how to get back our old stocks to our current broker. Okay, we can do that. Gracie Forman says, Coach Ogbo, this is the best lesson I've learned, and also how to be patient in life. Fantastic. Okay. Rebecca says, I learned reliable income is important. And Jude says, consistent persistence at work. Thank you all very much. I pray for you that you be blessed, and that whatever you are going through right now will become a story that you will tell in the future the way I'm telling my own, and you will tell the story with joy. So be patient, and then don't let depression come in at any time. The joy of the Lord is your strength. you are going to come out of it. Behind every cloud is a silver lining. The darkest hour of the night is just 1 hour to the morning. So be patient, you'll be good. Keep following, keep learning, keep executing, and do join the Financial Fitness Challenge. The details to join the Financial Fitness Challenge, that's my wealth mentorship group where I spend more time with the people there, and where people also build a community to help each other, help one another in the financial journey and then in the spiritual and purpose journey. So join. The details are in the comment section in this video. And then for those of you who are joining the channel for the first time, if you haven't already subscribed or shared or liked this, just take a moment and do that right now. And when you subscribe to the channel, make sure that you hit the notification bell so that whenever I come live, you will know. Because I might be in a different country, maybe in Europe, maybe in Asia, and the times might be different. So when I come online, you will know exactly. And so with that said, whatever happens, keep showing up because you have no idea what's coming your way next. And I'll see you exactly the same time tomorrow because we do it Monday to Friday. Good night and God bless you.